My beloved child, there is a quiet movement unfolding around you right now, so gentle that if you rush, you will miss it, yet so powerful that once it reaches you, nothing inside your heart will feel the same again, and I want you to slow down for just a moment, because something important is waiting for you, something that has been forming in silence, beyond what your eyes could see and beyond what your thoughts could fully understand. There is a reason your heart has been feeling these subtle shifts lately, those moments where everything seems normal on the outside, yet inside, something stirs, something whispers, something feels like it is preparing you. Have you noticed it? That quiet anticipation you cannot explain, that sense that something meaningful is approaching, even if you don't know when or how. This is not random, this is not imagined, this is the beginning of a moment that has been patiently finding its way to you. And here is what makes it even more beautiful: the one connected to your heart has been carrying something within them, not heavy, not dark, but something delicate, something they have been protecting until the right moment. They have been thinking about you in ways they never fully expressed, feeling things they didn't always know how to put into words, and slowly, piece by piece, those feelings have been growing into something they can no longer keep hidden. But pause for a second, ask yourself this: why now? Why does it feel like everything is aligning at this exact moment? Why does it feel like something is about to shift when nothing obvious has changed on the surface? The answer is simple, yet profound: timing is finally catching up with truth, and truth, once it begins to rise, cannot stay buried for long. There have been moments when you doubted, moments when you questioned what this connection truly meant. You tried to read between the lines, to understand the silence, to make sense of the distance or the confusion, and yet, even in those moments, something inside you refused to let go completely. Something kept telling you, wait, just a little longer, and now, that quiet voice within you is about to make sense in a way you didn't expect. Because what is coming is not loud, it is not dramatic in the way you might imagine, it is something deeper, something that touches you in a way that feels real, grounded, undeniable, the kind of surprise that doesn't just make you smile for a moment, but stays with you, the kind that melts the walls you didn't even realize you had built. And here's something even more intriguing: they didn't plan it perfectly, they didn't rehearse it over and over. In fact, part of them feels nervous, uncertain, almost like they are stepping into something new without knowing exactly how it will unfold. But that's what makes it genuine, that's what makes it genuine, that's what makes it meaningful, because when something comes from a place of truth, it doesn't need perfection, it only needs courage. Stay with this feeling for a moment, don't skip ahead in your thoughts, because the way this unfolds matters. The energy around this moment is soft, almost like a quiet evening where everything feels still, and then suddenly, something shifts, not loudly, but enough to change everything you thought you understood. There is something they want to say, something they have been holding back, not because they didn't care, but because they were learning, growing, understanding themselves in ways they hadn't before, and now, they are reaching a point where silence no longer feels right, where holding back feels heavier than speaking out. Can you feel that subtle tension? That space between what has been unsaid, and what is about to be revealed. It's delicate, almost like the moment before a sunrise, where the sky is still dark, but you know, something beautiful is just about to appear. And when it does, it won't come as a shock, it will come as recognition, like something your soul already knew, like something your heart has been quietly preparing to receive. You might even pause, take a breath, and think. This is what I was feeling all along. Because the truth is, this connection has never been one-sided. Even in the silence, even in the confusion, there has always been a thread connecting you, something subtle, yet strong, something that kept pulling both of you back into awareness, even when life tried to distract you. But here is where it becomes even more meaningful. The surprise is not just about what they will say, it's about what it will awaken in you, something soft, something warm, something that reminds you of the beauty of feeling deeply, of trusting again, of allowing yourself to open, even just a little, and maybe, just maybe, this is the moment where you begin to see everything differently, not through doubt, not through overthinking, but through clarity, the kind that feels calm, steady, real. Let me ask you something quietly: what if this moment, this exact unfolding, is not just about them, but also about you stepping into a new version of yourself, a version that doesn't question every feeling, a version that allows good things to arrive without resistance? Because sometimes, the greatest surprises are not the ones that shake your world, but the ones that gently reshape it, the ones that arrive softly, yet leave a lasting imprint, and you are closer to that moment than you realize, closer than you think. Something is shifting, something is opening. Something is preparing to meet you right where you are. But not all at once, not in a rush, this is unfolding in layers, slowly, intentionally. And what comes next will reveal even more than you expect. And just when you thought you understood the direction this was moving in, something even quieter begins to unfold beneath it, something that doesn't announce itself, yet carries more meaning than anything said out loud. Because the truth is, what they feel has already crossed a point of no return, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that creates pressure, but in a way that changes how they see you, how they think about you, how they imagine moments with you that they once kept hidden even from themselves. There were times when they tried to ignore it, times when they told themselves it wasn't the right moment, that maybe they should wait, maybe they should hold back a little longer, but every time they stepped away, something pulled them back, something reminded them of you in the smallest, most unexpected ways. A song they didn't expect to feel, a memory that appeared without warning, a quiet moment where your presence filled the space even when you weren't physically there. And slowly, those moments stopped feeling like coincidences, they started feeling like truth. And here's the part that might surprise you, they've been imagining how this moment would feel, not perfectly, not with certainty, but with hope, a quiet, steady hope that when they finally step forward, something between you will soften, not break, not overwhelm, but soften into something real. Pause for a second, let that sink in. Because what is about to reach you is not rushed energy, it's not confusion, it's clarity that took time to form, it's the kind of realization that only arrives after someone has truly sat with their own thoughts, their own emotions, their own fears, and chosen to move forward anyway. And you might notice something when it finally happens, something subtle, the way their words feel different, the way their energy carries a calm honesty that wasn't there before, the way it feels less like guessing, and more like knowing. Don't skip this moment in your mind, stay here, because this is where everything begins to make sense. There is a reason this didn't happen earlier, a reason things felt unclear before, a reason you were left wondering. It wasn't to confuse you, it wasn't to delay something meant for you, it was to allow something deeper to form, something that couldn't be rushed without losing its meaning, and now, that depth is ready to reveal itself, not all at once, but in a way that feels natural. Almost like a conversation that unfolds without force. Like a truth that doesn't need to prove itself because it simply is. You may even feel a shift inside yourself as it happens, a quiet release, like something you were holding without realizing it, something that begins to loosen, making space for something warmer, something lighter. Because the surprise, the real surprise, is not just what they bring to you, it's what it allows you to feel again. There was a part of you that stayed guarded, not closed, but careful, a part that learned to protect itself quietly, and now, that part is being gently invited to relax, not because it has to, but because it feels safe to. And safety, real emotional safety, is something that cannot be forced, it can only be felt. Let me ask you something softly, when was the last time something felt simple, not complicated, not uncertain, just simple and true? Because that is the energy surrounding this moment. It may not come with grand gestures, it may not look like what you imagined, but it will feel right, in a way that doesn't need explanation, in a way that speaks directly to your heart without noise. And they are becoming aware of this too. They are realizing that what they feel is not something they can keep to themselves anymore, not because they are being pushed, but because holding it in no longer feels natural. There's a quiet courage building inside them, a readiness that wasn't there before, and with that readiness comes a decision, a choice to show up differently, to express what they once held back. But here's the deeper layer, the one that changes everything. This moment is not just about what they say or do, it's about the space it creates between you, a space where honesty can exist, where connection can breathe, where something real can begin to take shape without confusion. And as this unfolds, you might start to notice the small details, the tone of their voice, the way they pause before speaking, the sincerity that doesn't try too hard, and in those details, you will feel it. Not as a question, but as a quiet knowing. Because sometimes, the most meaningful truths don't arrive loudly, they arrive in a way that feels almost familiar, like something your heart recognizes before your mind catches up. And you are moving closer to that recognition. Closer than you think. Something is about to be revealed, not everything, not all at once, but enough to change the way you see this connection, enough to soften the edges, enough to open a door that once felt closed. Stay with this, don't rush ahead. Because what comes next carries a depth that will touch you in a way you didn't expect. And then, just as everything begins to settle into a quiet understanding, something shifts again, not outside, not in the obvious world around you, but within the space where feelings become real. Because this is the moment where intention turns into action. They are no longer just thinking, no longer just feeling, they are stepping closer, not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a way that feels certain, like someone who has finally stopped running from their own truth. And here's what makes this so powerful. They are not coming toward you to fix something, not to fill a void, but to share something that has become clear inside them, something that feels steady, something that feels chosen. Pause here for a second. Can you feel the difference between something uncertain and something decided? Because that is exactly where they are now. There was a time when their emotions felt scattered, when they didn't fully understand what this connection meant, when they questioned themselves more than they trusted their own heart, but something changed. Not suddenly, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, through moments that made them realize, this is not something they want to lose. And when that realization settled in, everything else began to align around it. You may not have seen this process, you may not have heard the thoughts they were sorting through, but it was happening, in the background, in silence, shaping this very moment. And now, here you are, standing at the edge of something that is about to reveal itself. Don't skip this feeling. Because what comes next is not just about words, it's about presence. The way they show up will feel different. More grounded, more intentional, less hesitant. Almost like they are no longer asking themselves, should I? But instead saying, I'm ready. And when someone reaches that point, everything they express carries a different weight, a different honesty. You might notice it in the smallest details. The way they look at you, the way they listen, the way they choose their words more carefully, not out of fear, but out of respect for what this connection truly is. And in that moment, something inside you will respond. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a quiet, undeniable way. A feeling that says, this is real. Because your heart has been waiting, not in desperation, not in expectation, but in a kind of silent awareness. And now, it is being met. But here is where it becomes even more meaningful. This is not just a single moment that passes quickly. This is the beginning of a shift. A shift in how you both understand each other, how you both feel safe expressing what is true, how you both allow something deeper to exist without fear of losing it. And yes, there may still be things unspoken, there may still be layers that take time to unfold, but the difference now is, you are no longer standing in uncertainty, you are stepping into clarity, together. Let me ask you something gently. What if this surprise, this moment you've been sensing, is not just about receiving something beautiful, but also about realizing, you were never as alone in this connection as you once thought? Because even in the quiet, even in the distance, something was always moving, always growing, always finding its way back to this point. And now, that movement is becoming visible. They are choosing to meet you here. Not halfway, not cautiously, but fully aware of what they feel. And that choice, that quiet, steady decision, is what gives this moment its depth. You may feel it as a sense of calm. A soft warmth spreading through your thoughts. A release of the questions that once circled your mind. Because when truth arrives, it doesn't need to convince you. It simply feels right. And that feeling, that quiet certainty, is what will stay with you long after the moment itself has passed. But don't rush ahead. There is still more unfolding, more to be revealed, more depth waiting just beneath the surface. Because what comes next will not only touch your heart. It will show you something you didn't fully see before. And just when it feels like you've reached the heart of it, something even deeper begins to reveal itself, not in what is said, but in what is finally understood. Because now, you're not just witnessing their actions, you're beginning to see the meaning behind them. There was a layer you couldn't access before, a quiet distance that kept certain truths just out of reach, and it made you wonder, it made you question, it made you search for clarity in places that only gave you fragments. But look at what is happening now. Those fragments, they're coming together. Not perfectly, not all at once, but enough for you to feel the shift. Enough for you to recognize that what once felt uncertain is no longer the same. And here's where it becomes something you didn't expect. The surprise, the real surprise, is not just in what they bring to you. It's in how it changes you. Because something inside you is softening in a way you didn't plan. A quiet guard, gently lowering. Not because you're forcing it, not because you have to, but because it finally feels right to. Pause here, stay in this moment. Can you feel that difference? That space where your thoughts are no longer racing, where your heart feels steady, where everything seems to slow down just enough for you to actually feel what is real. This is what clarity does. It doesn't rush you, it doesn't overwhelm you, it simply settles in. And as it does, you begin to notice something else. They are no longer holding back the same way. There is a presence in them now, a calm confidence, a willingness to be seen without hiding behind uncertainty, and that presence, it speaks. Louder than anything they could say. It tells you, without needing to explain. I'm here, and I mean it. And maybe, just maybe, this is the moment where everything quietly changes. Not in a dramatic, overwhelming way. But in a way that feels natural, like something that was always meant to happen, finally finding its timing. Because timing has always been the missing piece. Not feelings, not connection, not meaning. Just timing. And now, that piece is falling into place. There is a subtle realization forming inside you. Something that feels both new and familiar at the same time. A realization that says, this was never about chasing something uncertain. This was about waiting for something real to become clear. And now that it is, everything feels different. The questions that once echoed in your mind, they begin to fade. The doubts that once held weight, they begin to lose their grip. And in their place, something softer arrives. Something that doesn't need to be questioned. Because it is felt. Let me ask you something, quietly. What if this moment, this exact unfolding, is showing you that not everything meaningful needs to be complicated? What if the connection you've been trying to understand, was always meant to feel this simple, this steady, this true? Because sometimes, the deepest experiences don't come with noise. They come with a quiet certainty that settles into your heart and stays there. And this is one of those moments. But don't think this is the end of the story. No, this is where something new begins. Because what has been revealed here, is only the first layer of what is possible between you. There are still things waiting to unfold, still emotions waiting to be expressed, still moments waiting to be shared. And now, they will come from a place of understanding, not confusion. From a place of openness, not hesitation. From a place where both of you can simply be, without needing to question what this connection is. And that is where something truly meaningful begins to grow. You are not standing at the end. You are standing at the beginning of something that finally makes sense. Something that feels grounded, something that feels real. Something that doesn't need to be chased, because it is choosing to meet you. Right here. Right now, and as this continues to unfold, you will see even more, feel even more, understand even more. Because what comes next, is not just a continuation. It is a deepening, of everything you have just begun to realize.